Well, hello again there, everybody. Kyle Nedrip from the Indy Star, and joining you again, talking about the day two of the Charlie Hughes Shootout at Carmel and Westfield, and sitting here in McDonald's parking lot. The wonders of modern technology. You could literally hear the double cheeseburgers being ordered as we speak. But as it goes, another good day of basketball. Saw a lot of games today. Starting the day, I thought a highlight for me was probably the first game of the day, or one of the highlights was seeing North Central and New Albany play each other. And North Central won the game and fairly handily in that one. But really a story from that game I thought was Noah Washington from New Albany, who I did have a chance to see him play on Friday as well. But he is just about, like I said, probably 6'6". Actually, thought he did a lot more today in the second half. He had 21 in the second half in that game against North Central. In North Central, I'm checking scores here as I discuss here, but it's 82-64. North Central won that game this morning. Poppy Rivera, really good game. Nigel Jewell. North Central's got a good team. Gavin Petty, I think, ended up with 4 threes in that game. Good group, but I was kind of standing there by the scores table, and even the North Central coaches were like, "Man, that Noah Washington's tough. That freshman's tough, and he hit some tough shots. They guarded him well, but like I said, had 24, 21 of those in the second half. And talking to Noah after the game, he said, hey, I'm glad for this opportunity as a freshman. My coach had confidence in me. I only had 3 points at halftime and felt like he didn't play great, but goes out and has a really nice second half. And New Albany's going to be a good team, I think, down there in southern Indiana and in Class 4A. They ended up beating Lawrence Central yesterday, lost to Avon again today in their second game, but they beat LC, beat HSC yesterday, so they end up 2-2 for the tournament. But like I said, a good North Central team. They controlled the game most of that second half, and the final score was a little bit probably bigger than the game was played for the most part. It was kind of in that 10-point range for most of it. Northridge actually went out and beat North Central in the second game today. Northridge also had beat Avon in their second game today. So a couple of good wins for Northridge today. But that was the first game I saw. Kind of bouncing around here, I saw Ben Davis and Greenfield Central in the 11:30 time slot. That was on the main floor. A lot of coaches there to see Braylon Mullins, and he had another really good game. And that Ben Davis team, just didn't shoot the ball great from what I saw throughout the 2 days. But talking to Don Carlisle after the game, and he said that hasn't been, we have shot it pretty well throughout June. So, sometimes I say good shooters, it's going to find its level. If that's the case, I think that'll end up, happening for Ben Davis. But right now, and they didn't shoot it well inside either. They struggled a little bit with that zone that Greenfield Central plays pretty much, not pretty much, they play all the time. So the 3-2 zone, and I know a lot of teams, you're probably not working on a ton of zone offense in June necessarily. So kind of like I said yesterday, in yesterday's wrap up, it's the results from the Charlie Hughes aren't always that meaningful necessarily. You're not game planning or, putting together a bunch of film study on these games. But, I did think Greenfield played, really well. They ended up winning that game 60-58. Braylon Mullins had 32 points in that game and held off a Ben Davis team, obviously very physical. There's it was just physical game. I mean, I kind of like that in the summer. I like to see, instead of, a ton of fouls called, they let them play a little bit, and I thought that was good. It's probably good for Greenfield to have that experience of playing a team like that that really gets after you full court defensively, and to be able to survive that and win that game was a good win for them. And one of the things too, is some of these teams, and I'm saying this because Greenfield came back and played the next game, was their fourth game of the day, or fourth game of the tournament, 2-2, and they played Cathedral, which that was their first game. So you also have some of those type situations where you may be catching a team where they may be a little fatigued, the other team's not, and Cathedral won that game 80-55. I didn't see, I saw the first part of that game, not the whole game. I know Braylon Mullins kind of came down on his head there in the fourth, or I think it was in the third quarter actually, and didn't play the whole game. But Cathedral had that game well in hand throughout, and then I was able to see the end of Cathedral. I'm kind of bouncing beyond a couple games I'll go back to, but Cathedral did play New Pal, a game I only saw the fourth quarter of. Really good game in that I don't know why that auxiliary gym always so crazy, that freshman auxiliary, but it always feels like it's the Boston Garden in there in 1985. It's just hot, and the everyone's sweating, and the parents are going crazy, and the coaches and everything. It just seems like every game in there is down to the wire overtime. But Cathedral was able to beat New Pal 71-65. Not a game that was, New Pal had that game. They were ahead a lot of that game. And by the time I walked in, Cathedral had cut it down to, I believe it was 4, right at the start of the fourth quarter. And then I thought Keaton Aldridge played well in that game. Brady Kaler made some plays down the stretch. Moses Haynes for New Pal, thought him and Julius Gizzy, both in the parts that I saw there late in the game, played well for New Pal. New Pal's going to be really good. They really run their stuff well, and veteran team now that has kind of grown up together. So, Greenfield Central, I know they're getting a lot of publicity, and rightly so, over the course of this tournament. A lot of it, obviously, with Braylon Mullins being watched by all these coaches, but also don't forget about New Pal. They're going to be a tough team to deal with in as we get on into the actual high school basketball season. So good win for Cathedral. They came back and had to really battle and win that and get after it in that game. Ben Davis had beat New Pal 60-59 earlier in the day. So New Pal really getting some good tests. They will play Carmel and Zionsville tomorrow. So hoping to see them play a full game tomorrow. They'll play on the main floor at Carmel against Carmel, and then they will play Zionsville in the 2 o'clock game. So a chance to see them again tomorrow. I also covered the Pike and Addicts game. That was on the Carmel main floor. Addicts really, I thought Malachi Cunningham, he's really starting to come on, getting some offers. Say Miami of Ohio offered him. IU Indianapolis offered him. It sounded like there might be another 1 or 2 coming, at least in the imminent future. So really playing well. I think the more they can play through him, the better, especially with Desmond Briscoe being out of the lineup this weekend. He's on vacation. So, they got, even without Briscoe, able to beat Mount Vernon 68-64 and beat Pike 61-57, a really tight game against Pike. I thought Dazon Hall and Isaiah Hill, 2 guys for Pike, I think they can build around. They got some good pieces around them too. Damon Howard and some other guards who are going to be good for him. Pike just still learning. Talked to Jeff Teague a little bit after their game, and they're just still kind of putting it together. But I think they'll improve on what they were able to do last season. But then I did see, and I didn't hear anything about this until looking at the scores, but I saw Kokomo beat them up pretty good, 88-50. So kind of surprising there that was that lopsided. So not sure what happened in that game, but Kokomo drilled Pike. If these scores are right, and I assume that they are on the app here. But good win for Addicts. Malachi Cunningham, like I said, he's starting to really transfer from Decatur Central. Had a good season. I really liked him as a junior. Looks like he's going to be a good player as a senior as well. And then I watched Jeffersonville and Carmel, and probably the story, and not to bury the lead again, but Jeffersonville, had a chance to talk to Sharon Wilkerson and Michael Cooper a little bit. I'll have more on Jeffersonville. It's probably in the wrap up on Monday, but just they've kind of been the story of the tournament from a team perspective. So they have now beat Greenfield Central, Fishers, Lawrence North, and Carmel as they exit the tournament. So 4-0, kind of caught them as they were walking out of the building. Sharon was, basically said, hey, we were hoping to go 3-1. But, there's no doubt, I mean, for a team like that, probably more so than the Indianapolis area teams who play in this tournament, to come up here and win 4 games against Central Indiana teams is super meaningful. And I talked to Michael Cooper about that a little bit. It's like, some teams or players or coaches especially will kind of, and again, this isn't the end of the world. It's not, if you lose some of these games, it's not the biggest deal ever. if you learn something from a loss, I mean, it means that's meaningful too. But for a team like Jeffersonville that's got, Trey Singleton, a guy that's just a load inside. They've got experience at the guard spots with Douglas and Cooper. Obviously, those guys. So they all kind of split they split the responsibility in a lot of ways, and they're a veteran team, so they come up here expecting to. This is pretty important for them to come win these games, and they did. And I thought really good win against Carmel, which Carmel came back. They were down, came back. Alex Tudor had 18 points, I believe, in that game. I don't have all just kind of throwing stuff together a little bit here. I don't have all the numbers. Probably on my Twitter feed if you want to see more of that sort of thing or whatever. But 53-48, Jeffersonville beat Carmel. And so just I'll get into more of that in our Monday wrap up, or maybe even in a separate story. But it's just it is a big deal. And that team coming off a semi-state appearance and nearly making the state finals, a very hungry team. So you add the hunger with the experience. I think it's going to be a dangerous team to watch this season. I think we knew that going in to this tournament, and maybe. That was just solidified by the way they played. You got to be tough to come up here and win against the four teams they played against. And, four different types of teams. Greenfield, Fisher's without John Anthony Hall. I will say that. I mean, obviously that's a huge part of their team on his official visit to IU for football. But to beat Lawrence North, to beat Carmel, today, to come back after going 2-0, pretty impressive, I will say, by Jeffersonville. So, again, we'll have more on that team and what they accomplished, and kind of looking ahead to their season as well. Lawrence North, after they lost to Jeff, it was actually before they lost to Jeff. They beat Fort Wayne 59-55. So Lawrence North ends up, sort of not a superhuman performance by them. They end up going 2-2, and I think they're a team that we figured would be right in that mix among those top teams. And like I said, team still finding some stuff out about themselves. A team I thought, I didn't see Noblesville play today, but they did end up the tournament 4-0. They won over Warsaw and Evansville Harrison handily today. So they beat Ben Davis yesterday handily, won a close one with North Central. So like I said yesterday, Noblesville, team that really knows itself. I think Justin Curry, a lot of buzz about what he's been doing. Baron Walker, for sure, a player that I think a lot of people like. If you've seen Noblesville play, that I think is going to be a guy to watch these next 2 years as well at the guard spot for the Millers. But like I said, I didn't actually see them play today. Gary 21st Century and Park Tudor, I saw about probably a quarter and a half of that game. Wanted to see that game and got in there to watch a pretty good chunk of it. Again, that was in the auxiliary gym. A pretty good finish. Park Tudor, Hudson Horvath had 17 in the first quarter and ended up, I believe, with 33 for the game, 31-33 in that range, but not trying to shortchange him. He had a great game for the Panthers. They beat Gary 21st 73-67. And then they lost to South Bend St. Joe 81-53, so obviously didn't have the same success in their second game today. South Bend St. Joe obviously very good as well. So like you can learn something about yourself. I don't know how that game actually went, but South Bend St. Joe beat Portage too, so 73-58. So they got two good wins today. But like I said, I thought Hudson Horvath really good. Park Tudor's got a lot of good pieces. Gary 21st, I think, a team that's gonna do a lot. I was standing there at the end of the court, and man, they were coming at me, and they get out fast. I mean, everything is up the court, and they do that really well. So Gary 21st, as usual, will be a good team to watch this season in Class 2A. Also, let's see, I saw Cathedral and Greenfield Central. Not a ton of that game, like I said, mentioned that game a little bit earlier. But I thought that was good performance overall. Brady Kaler, he did talk a little bit about recruiting, and I think as at this point seems like he's going to probably take official visits to Notre Dame and Northwestern. He's still probably Wake Forest, still kind of figuring out maybe where all that fits in as far as his visits go, and who's really interested in him after the summer. I don't think he's to the point where he's finalizing stuff right now just yet. So he's still got a little bit of time, and as these seniors go, he's maybe one that coaches are maybe seeing a little bit more of than a guy like Braylon Mullins or Trent Sisley, who have been a little bit more well known, I would say, throughout their recruiting process. But Brady's he's just really probably about 6'9", legit 6'9" at this point, I would say, and he's might be even pushing 6'10", but he really can make it look easy at times. He's filled out a little bit. He's going to be a good player. Also, Cathedral had Armani playing with them, and Julian Smith from Mount Vernon. So they got those two playing with them right now. I'm not sure how all that will play out as far as the transfers go and whatnot, but they definitely. I thought Julian especially played well for him today. Made some big plays down the stretch of the second game against New Pal. So they'll obviously add something to that Cathedral team that already has a lot, and I think that's going to be a really good team regardless of what transpire or whoever coming in or whatnot. I think they're going to be a good team anyway for the Irish. So yeah, they'll be back playing 2 more games tomorrow. Cathedral will. Just looking here, Ken, some of these games, I ended up coming back and watching Sheridan and Crystal House tonight as well. Sheridan got a kind of a fun game. They ended up winning at the buzzer. Caleb Wright scored at the buzzer as they came back. They were down by about 12 late in the game, so just kind of catching a little bit of that small school game there. I did pop over to Westfield just for a little bit. I saw a little bit of Plainfield again. Not a full game over there. Saw some of Brownsburg and Muncie Central. Brownsburg was pretty steadily ahead throughout that game. Caught a little bit of Center Grove. So some of those teams I'd seen or hope to see tomorrow, but just got over there for just a little bit this afternoon, and then came back to Carmel, and then came back and saw a little bit of Silver Creek tonight. Kason Dager will be a junior who can really score. Had 38 points in a game earlier today, and I think that was against Danville. So caught a little bit of his game. I'd seen him in the Futures game, and I haven't seen him obviously a ton like during the regular season, things like that. But guy who can really score, a guard. I would say he's maybe 6 foot, 6'2" maybe. But the guy definitely will be on the radar, I think, moving forward, and especially that 38-point game. I believe that was in front of some Division I coaches. Toledo, I think, had been in touch with him, so pretty good performance by him in that one. So I'm trying to think of other. I saw a lot of coaches here. Chris Collins from Northwestern and Micah Shrewsbury. They were there watching Brady Kaler play. I know Matt Painter was actually in to see Luke Ertl from Mount Vernon at one point today. So I know they're recruiting him, and I was trying to think of other. Grady Carpenter from Tipton, I know, picked up a couple of smaller college offers. He's a guy I haven't seen yet this weekend. Haven't seen Tipton play, but really good player. I'd seen him during the high school season. He's a bigger guard who can really dish. So he's a guy to watch for sure. And there's some. Terrence Hayes was a guy. I was trying to think of the. Just going off the top of my head here, but Terrence Hayes was a guy from Gary 21st. I thought had a really good game for them as well. So, but yeah, so good second day. I think it's it's again, don't read too much into it, but also it's kind of a chance for us. And I'm just trying to pass stuff along kind of as I think of it too, just about things I've seen. And teams that win obviously are going to feel good about it and say, hey, that's great for our team and shows what we can do. Teams that lose are going to say, hey, it's a learning experience and it's good for us to lose. So you can look at it both ways. That's kind of what this is for. We kind of are able to kind of see some teams play that may not ever cross paths with each other. I thought it was cool, like yesterday, Concord and Muncie Central playing each other, and it was like, that's a state championship rematch from the 1980s. So the Heritage Christian were playing, the battle of the heritages. So you got all kinds of kind of weird matchups and things like that, and probably things only I would possibly think of. But also a good chance to catch up with people Yeah, that's always a fun part of this too, is just seeing referees or fans or people you see during the season that coaches, players, So good chance to catch up with people, and that's what this game of basketball does, I guess, is allow us to meet people. So good fun day at the Charlie Hughes again. Charlie, be proud. Great event, great crowds again. Great crowds of fans and coaches and people and everything. I'm sure I'm not thinking of stuff, but I see I'm on 20 minutes so yeah, let's wrap it up there. I'll have something else tomorrow. Day 3 wrap up of the tournament. I'll also have in writing as well some of the top performers, things like of that nature. So appreciate it and have a good night.